Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Wiki Weekends, where we wind up a wiki, we take a deep dive, and we keep swimming until we find something fun to talk about. I'm your host for this episode, Lucas Holland, and as always, I'm joined by the lovely Karl Smallwood.
Hello.
And Karl, today we're going to be talking about something that, there's a nice big movie coming out that everyone's really excited for, and it's probably already come out and been forgotten about by the time we talk about this subject.
Until you said forgotten about, I was going to say, we're talking about Deadpool and Wolverine again. What the hell are we talking about?
We're talking about Borderlands 2. Specifically, we're just talking about, the nice, good video game and not the movie.
Oh, the video game. Okay, awesome. Do we have to talk about the movie at all? Can we just say, I've never been turned off harder by just a movie's presentation?
Yeah, that trailer was rough.
I don't want to! It's in my mouth!
It just shows, not everything can be adapted, at least not one-to-one, because the tone of the video games, if you think about it, is really off-putting, which is why you spend 50% of your time not interacting with the characters, because they would get real grating if you had to spend every fucking moment with them.
Yep.
Move and you die. I will now read the crimes of the condemned. You kidnapped my... You moved. Whatever.
I can't wait for a 2-hour movie that we got to spend every waking moment with them.
Yeah, and with what looks like really poorly written jokes.
Are you telling me that Eli Roth is not good at writing jokes?
Yeah, I don't really remember who Eli Roth is or what they've done.
Well, I think all I need to say about Eli Roth is, Eli Roth, I think he wrote and directed Cabin Fever, which features a character in it who wears a date on their shirt, which was, at the time, the exact date the Olsen twins would turn 18, before they turned 18.
Oh.
No, Lucas, he pulled that in because, Edge.
Anyway, we're not talking about Eli Roth's Borderlands movie, we're talking about Borderlands 2.
I'm gonna kill you. You want to prove me wrong? You want to stop the greatness that is Handsome Jack? Well, come and get me.
The writer for Borderlands 2 is Anthony Birch, and people may be familiar with the name, and if not, people may remember them from working with Ashley Birch, who is their sister on Hey Ash, What You Playing?
Being interviewed
with a vampire
over email, and I can't figure out how to answer the first fucking question.
What's the question?
What was it like writing Borderlands 2?
What's so hard about that? What was it like when you got the job?
It was great. It was fantastic, but complicated.
I don't know if you ever watched any Hey Ash.
No, I am basically completely ambivalent and almost comically unaware of every YouTuber from that era. Mm-hmm. The only people I watched ever as YouTubers were the best friends, and I would always be confused when they collaborate with other people. I'd be like, who are these people?
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much describes most of our situation on YouTube even now. For the most part, we're not really aware of what's popular, but I do remember watching a couple of episodes of Hey Ash, What You Playing and finding them amusing, and they were well-written comedy sketches at the time. At least, I don't know how well they stand up to test of time, but...
Do you know what? Put some clips in.
Yeah.
Put some clips in and see how well that comedy's aged.
I declare war on you, and you, and all this.
Essentially, one half of what at the time were a YouTube comedy duo, and I'm like, okay, I guess maybe this is a decent way to approach getting weird, stupid, dumb humor written for a video game.
Lucas, do we count as comedy YouTube duo? Is that us?
I don't think we're funny enough.
That's the thing out because we don't write our own material. Well, I do. Now, should you write jokes beforehand? I do.
No.
But most of us just improvise, but I do write jokes.
I mean, most people refer to our videos as I know we do a podcast, but even these videos, a lot of people refer to them as podcasts or podcast-like videos.
Here's the thing, what would you rather be known as, a comedian or a podcaster? Because both carry negative connotations.
They do, yeah. I'd rather be known as what I tell people I am, a video producer.
Video producer sounds more authoritative.
It does, yes. And it also stops that same conversation happening every single fucking time. Of the moment you say like, oh, I make like videos on YouTube. Do you know this YouTuber? And it's like, I don't want to have this conversation again. I'm just going to say video producer. Because that sounds important and boring enough where people don't ask follow-up questions.
People don't follow up, yeah.
It's like you carry a little bit of weight and you also don't get questions asked, and it's like that nice middle ground.
It's something I continually have to deal with, like, 'cause I'm currently dating. Like, not anyone in particular, but like you're just dating, and it's that question that comes up of like, so what do you do for a living? It's like, well, I tell people I'm a writer, which I think that I am, but I also make YouTube videos, and I had it on one date like last year, I think. I was on the date and I told them that, and they were like, really? Do you get recognised? I went, not often, no. And literally 5 minutes later, a guy came, oh, you make those fact fiend videos, don't you? I'm like, fuck's sake, it looks like such a knob.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is, like, technically I'm not lying. I'm not a video producer for a big company or anything, but we are both producing videos.
Who owns these videos?
Do
we joint own the company, or do you hire me? I don't know. I don't know how our business works, Lucas.
I don't know either. I guess we both own everything 50-50 here. I don't know. We've never technically written it down.
Can I buy 1% of the company, so I'm the majority shareholder?
There's no company. It's just like IP rights, right?
Yeah. Who owns those? Who owns Wiki and who owns Weekends?
You know what? You can have the Wiki. I'll have
you
the
have Weekends, I'll have Wiki, yeah. You can own the concepts of Weekends, I'll own the concepts of reading wikis.
But speaking of wikis, Carl, we've got to start on this wiki at some point.
Yes.
And Borderlands 2 is a 2012 action role-playing first-person shooter video game developed by Gearbox and published by 2K. And
it is. What's the term, though, that we now use instead of all that bullshit you said of, like, action-oriented RPG shooter? It's called the...
It is, of course, a looter shooter.
Yes, much in the same vein as a Destiny.
Well, Destiny is obviously very different because Destiny is, like, got those, MMO live game elements to it, like game as a service kind of thing, whereas Borderlands 2 is very much, you buy the game, you optionally buy extra DLC, that's it, that's the game, that's done.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas obviously a Destiny like is an ongoing thing, and won't get into that right now because there's a lot of bad news Destiny-wise, and
we try not to make negative videos. That's why we're making a video about Borderlands 2, a video game we both like. We made passing reference to the film, but the fact that we don't care about it is why we probably don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, like that's the thing, I've watched that trailer for that movie and it's solidified. I don't care.
I'm expelling the excess lead. I can't go if you're looking at me. Ooh, actually, scrap that. I can. I really can. Actually, it's helping.
Are we really waiting for this to finish?
Keep looking at me.
You can throw in as many celebrity actors as you want, like big name actors. I guess like most actors are celebrities, right? But big name people like Cate Blanchett and Jack Black and Kevin Hart, and I'm just like, The game that I liked, and I think most people have agreed upon being like the best in the series, it's just Borderlands 2, which is why we're talking about that specifically.
Is it like a big chunk of it can be pointed directly to just Damon Clark?
Damon Clark's Handsome Jack, right?
Handsome Jack, yeah.
Anyway, I don't know, maybe you had to be there. The moral is, you're a total bitch.
Borderlands 3 is gameplay-wise and quality of life-wise and just
much better
in art style as well. Just everything looks nicer, everything plays nicer. They've got more interesting like RPG elements added. And I think they've just even got like more guns, more characters, stuff like that. Everything is more, but it doesn't have Handsome Jack.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Knock that last one down. I've already got a great idea for a new statue. It's just going to be me kicking you in the junk. I'm going to commission like 15 of those some bitches.
And the Calypso twins, who are, I think we've talked about this before, of the reason Handsome Jack works as a villain and they don't is because Handsome Jack, as much of an arsehole as he is, believes his own hype.
Mm-hmm.
He is committed to his ideals. His ideals are wrong, but he's committed to them. The Calypso twins are just like, whoa, random, I just killed a guy, isn't that cool? And it's like,
more important to know, Handsome Jack perceives himself as the good guy.
He thinks he's the hero, yes. Which he even says right at the end of the game. It's like, I'm the hero! You're just a stupid bandit! And then just Lilith can shoot him in the head. And it's like, glad he shut up.
And I do also think that just, even though we did say cast of characters and stuff are annoying, they're not necessarily annoying. Some of them can be endearing. And I think the main cast of like Borderlands 2 including the couple of characters from Borderlands 1 that they do pull in, like, that is an endearing cast for the most part.
It's just a cast that I wouldn't want to spend a lot of time around. Like,
exactly.
You know, I think everyone's least favourite part of doing a Borderlands 2 run is when you first get to Sanctuary and it's go talk to every single person in the town, one after the other, to unlock all of your missions.
Mm-hmm. They're all fun and endearing for small periods of time, which is where, for the most part, Borderlands 2 pays off, because there's not that many times where you're, like, stuck in long story segments.
Exactly.
Borderlands 3 kind of doubled down on the whole Handsome Jack element, literally by making 2 Handsome Jacks, and it just wasn't as well written. The Calypso twins were very annoying, and the fact that it was, like, trying to do all these meta jokes of them being like, we're streamers. And it's like,
What made Handsome Jack such a good villain as well is, I think I've talked about it before, of one of the first interactions you have with him, whether you realised it or not, tells you everything you need to know about the character in like 1 30-second exchange. And it's when he calls you up, just over the microphone, he's like, hey, what's up? It's Handsome Jack. Could you do me a favour and just, like, just die? Alright, bye. And then he calls you back up and is like, oh, I'm just like, you know, I just bought a stallion or a horse made of diamonds because I'm rich.
Right, Dave? Been pretty good. Just bought a pony made of diamonds. Yeah, because I'm rich. So, you know, that's cool. Goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like naming it Piss for Brains after you. Yeah, okay, bye again. And then he calls you back up. To clarify, he's actually bought a diamond horse. And that single exchange tells you everything you know about Handsome Jack. He's rich, but he's also insecure.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has to call you back up immediately to clarify the insult he gave you, so you don't misread the insult as him not being rich. And he's like, no, I'm really rich. I bought a real horse.
Mm-hmm.
The diamond horse I've been telling you about, it's not a sculpture or anything. It's a living horse that actually happens to be made of... Well, yeah, actually, I'll go get it. What stallion? Here you go. What stallion? Say hello. Yeah. Mud Stallion says hello.
I say Damon Clark just absolutely nailing Handsome Jack, and from moment one, you kind of like him. Like,
it's because he's charismatic.
Yeah, you want to kill him at the end of the game, like, but you don't want to kill him because you don't like him. You want to
kill him because...
But you want to kill him because, like, the game tells you he's the bad guy.
Yeah, and do you have, like, a favourite, like, Handsome Jack line? Because he's got so many good ones.
He does, and it's been a long time since I played it, so I can't really remember, like, the specific lines anymore.
I just like the one where he says, oh, God, it's from that initial thing where he's eating pretzels, talking on the mic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, God, these pretzels suck. Or where he's, like, tries to do, like, the tiny violin after killing... who's it kill? He kills Bloodwing, doesn't he?
I don't remember whether it's him that specifically kills Mordecai, but
it's his company, right? And he calls you up on the thing and say, okay, I'm going to do a bit. It's like, Blake, where's the bloody violin?
Oh, where the hell is... Oh, I had a violin somewhere. I was going to play it all sarcastically. God damn it, it was going to be awesome. Blake, where's the bloody violin?
He's like, okay, here's a tribute to... like Mordecai's stupid pet bird in E, and just really badly plays the violin. And then he calls you back and goes, it would have been funny if I did it on time. He's so insecure, I love it.
This is a song for Mordecai's stupid bird. In E. Are you what? Screw you, it would have been hilarious if I found it earlier. Shut up!
I also do think that there's a lot of other elements that, like, make Borderlands 2 fun, and a lot of it is just the fact that, hey, guess what? Like, even if you're playing through the game and some of the jokes don't hit and some of it can be a bit slow at times when you're just, like, going through an empty wasteland, like, playing any game like that is still fun with friends, and obviously you can play this game, like, 4-player pretty much. I think it's, like, pretty
start to finish,
seamless, yeah. You can play it split screen, which I did a lot.
It's one of the best things about it was to start a new Borderlands 3 run. No, starting a new Borderlands 2 run with, like, 2 or 3 of your friends.
I enjoyed this game enough where I did a few solo runs and a few co-op runs, and I literally not only platinumed the game, but finished the game at, like, near max level on every single character.
Because every character is fun to play. Like, every character just feels so mechanically unique.
Mm-hmm.
And within that character build, you can have multiple different builds that are based on, and then multiple different weapons. There's nigh infinite replayability to that series, just entirely on the RPG aspects alone.
Yeah, you can tell this was a time before, like, having Game Pass, where I could just play 100 or 200 games. It was like, no, this is the game that I'm going to milk 6 months out of, because I haven't got the money to go buy another game right now.
Yeah, and what was your favourite character to play then? Because I think a lot of people, they tend to like go towards Zero, just because they like the big damage.
Yeah, so I did start out doing Zero, and enjoyed the playing that run, and then I did do a solo run with it's Maya, right? The Siren.
The Siren, yeah, Maya's real good.
But the problem being that Myron's like ultimate ability is to hold people in place and let other people wail on them.
Yeah, she's like the support character, so it's hard to play as a solo character.
But I played through Maya as a solo run and went, I really enjoy playing Maya. I just wish I'd done that on a co-op run, and I think that would have been my favourite. But I think like my favourite in the end, just playing through by myself, ended up being the Gunzerker.
Yeah, I think for me, it's Gage.
Gage is really fun as well. Like, that's the thing is, there is only one character that I don't consider fun to play through as, and that's Axton.
I think I say Krieg's. I don't like the melee stuff, but Axton's more just he doesn't have enough bombastic stuff, like, because his primary gameplay loop revolves around his turret, which is very good, very powerful, and you can make it absurdly ridiculous damage-wise. The problem is that once you've thrown it down, you don't really have to interact with it anymore, so you don't feel like you're actually doing anything, whereas all the other characters you do, save for Krieg, I just don't like the melee playstyle.
Like,
because I don't think melee is very good in Borderlands, because you can't pick up new melee weapons.
Yeah, Gage, like, feels a bit more like you're kind of doing a kind of co-op damage dealing. I don't know what it is, but it feels a bit more 50-50 and a bit more interactive with... I don't know what it is with Gage, where...
It's because Death Trap responds to your stuff. Like, Death Trap can be enhanced by your own abilities. Like, you can share your shield with Death Trap, or you can empower Death Trap by shooting it with your different guns, or Death Trap can fire... He does the classic Unreal Tournament shock rifle. It fires the big ball that you can then shoot through to make it explode. Yeah,
that is true. There is elements of, like, interactivity, whereas the turret with Axton is just throw it and forget.
Yeah. And then sometimes, half the time, you fucking throw it down a rock, right? And it just also locks on something and then shoots into a rock for 40 seconds.
Yeah, to go through which characters there are 4 playable classes in the base game, which is Axton, the Commando, who summons a turret, Maya, the Siren, who can phase lock enemies, which just means they trap them in a sphere of energy, Zero, the Assassin, who can become invisible, and spawn hologram decoy, and then Salvador, the Gunzerker, who can use his ability to temporarily dual-wield weapons, and then...
What was the most broken build you came up with? Because that's the thing about... With the base 4.
Well,
I think my brother did a Gunzerker build where it's the other shotguns that only have, like, 2 shots in them, but you can fire semi-auto. We had, like, the perk where it's, like, you have a chance to not deplete a bullet that time.
Yeah.
And just, if he managed to get, like, the dice rolling, like, 4 or 5 times in a row, it's just... So what do you do?
I had that similar build, but with rocket launchers. So who's just running around with, like, a rocket launcher on each shoulder and hoping that you would proc the ability to, like, not use ammo.
Yeah.
And there were times where, like, if it goes well, you're just almost the entire time just shooting and shooting and shooting without ever reloading your rockets.
I think I remember one where it was Zero, where you get... I forget which enemy it is you kill, but there's, like, the sniper rifle that doesn't have a scope. That has, like... I think it just does a base, like, 500% headshot damage. If you get a good roll on it, you can do up to 500% headshot damage, with all the perks of more headshot damage, more headshot damage, more headshot damage, more headshot damage. I just remember, like, shooting... like one of those optional roaming super bosses, and he just died in one hit, and it's like, oh.
They've got the DLC content as well of Gage, the Necromancer, who summons Death Trap, who is like a companion robot that goes around like swiping its claws at people.
But I haven't even mentioned one of Gage's greatest weapons, Death Trap.
And then Krieg, the Psycho, who, as Karl mentioned, mainly runs around and just melees enemies and is a psycho.
I have the shiniest meat bicycle!
And I feel like maybe I'd have enjoyed my Krieg playthrough more, like you with Maya, of if it was in 2-player, because he's supposed to be like the tank. But it's really hard to be the tank when you're playing solo, because everyone's shooting at you anyway.
Yes.
Drawing aggro is not really a useful skill in solo.
A lot of the game, like the raids and stuff, I say raid, most of these like raids are just fight a big fucking bullet sponge boss.
Like Terminus, the Invincible and stuff like that, right?
Fight these massive bosses with 4 people, but I didn't have someone that consistently played Borderlands 2 as a person to jump online and play with me, so I would always be playing with random people, and it would just be a bit of a mess because you haven't figured out, team dynamics of one person being a tank and one person being support and a couple of DPSs or anything. It's normally just 4 people spawn in and 3 of them are the same character. And
I will say, though, if you get 4 Axtons and you've got the perk where you get 2 turrets, that's brutal.
Just 8 turrets.
It's just 8 turrets all firing just fucking nuclear missiles.
That's one of the gimmicks, right, as well. You mentioned, rolling the right roll on a weapon. One of the things that this game was entirely sold upon was the idea of, there's a bazillion guns. Ultimately, there's, I think there's 6 different weapon types, and then each weapon
You'll
type...
start to recognise them after a certain point, yeah?
Yeah, each weapon type, there's also, weapon vendors. So there would be different types of weapon vendors where, Jacobs, for example, is based around, old school, Wild West kind of style weapons, where it's a lot of, revolvers and bolt action rifles and stuff like that, whereas you get other ones I can't really remember the name of them all.
Maliwan are, the elemental weapons, Teodor are the ones where you can throw them away, Torg are the explosive ones, and then I think there's in Borderlands 2 there's just Iridium weapons, and there's Hyperion, which are accuracy,
yes.
And then there's Dahl, which are burst fire.
And I was trying to not get them confused with Destiny vendor types in my head then. I was just which ones are which? But yeah, thank you for that. And for example, Hyperion you mentioned is owned by Handsome Jack, and that's why he's so rich, and they have all the constructor bots and stuff. They're also Hyperion. So it does make make that Handsome Jack is this super rich person in game, right? Because you constantly are interacting with all the things that Handsome Jack owns.
Yes, and one of the things I love about the game is just it's the minor characters that really carry Borderlands. Maybe you don't think of him as a character, but I do, and it's the lady on the new you machine who just interacts with you every time you die.
Yeah.
And I think just if you can find the clip in, this is one of my favourite line readings in the entire game, because she just, whoever that voice actor was, nailed the sarcastic, indifferent AI. And it's I remember once where I just died to an enemy, got back to the new you machine. It's just between me and you, the thing that killed you was a total dick.
Between you and us, that thing that killed you is a total dick. Please disregard this message if you committed suicide.
And I just burst out laughing because I was not expecting it to say that, but just the specific intonation of was a total dick just sent my sides into orbit.
Yeah, and I think that's also another thing that's owned by Hyperion, right? Is the ability to respawn. That's always the question, is it? If Handsome Jack really wanted to stop you, why would he not just put a blocker on the new you machine to stop you respawning?
We should acknowledge one of the missions in Borderlands 2 is that Handsome Jack himself pays you to just jump off a mountain and kill yourself. Just because he thinks it's funny.
And obviously, in Handsome Jack's eyes, it's if every single Vault Hunter that's out there stops using my new you system and stops respawning, I lose out on a lot of money.
Hyperion suggests that you do not think about the fact that your current body is only a digital reconstruction of your original body, which died the first time you respawned. Do not think about this.
It's about his ego, right? So that is a question that people say, why doesn't he just stop you doing it? So because every time you do it, you got to pay him money, and he's an egomaniac where he doesn't think you actually pose a threat to him.
Yes.
So for him, it's about the idea of taunting someone who he thinks can't touch him, and the fact he probably gets off on the idea that they're having to use his technology every time they die to come back to life.
Handsome Jack is one of the improvements that this sequel makes over the first, and the first game, Borderlands, was just, it had a lot of cool ideas, but it hadn't quite nailed the concept yet. And then Borderlands
also as well,
2.
yeah, the characters basically aren't characters, which is the thing I always find weird about Borderlands is because I went back and replayed Borderlands 1 after playing Borderlands 2, and it's like Roland is not a character in Borderlands 1 because he's the player character and he never speaks.
Yeah, right.
The fact they made him into a character in number 2 and a character I actually care about, I get annoyed when Roland doesn't make it.
Yeah, all of them become like the kind of support cast and go back to Sanctuary and stuff, right? And they're all helping you along the way. And yeah, you actually like Roland and Lilith and Mordecai, and I can't remember who's the fourth one in that cast.
Brick.
Oh, and Brick, of course. Yes.
Brick's awesome. That's the thing. The fact that in the first game they were blank templates you were supposed to put your personality onto.
Mm-hmm.
Then in Borderlands 2, I really like Roland and Brick and Mordecai. Not Mordecai as much because he's just you meet him a lot later in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Brick, but I think Brick's more endearing because he actually physically helps you out.
Yeah, and like as well, just part of the reason why Brick is great is just like. Especially the DLC with I'm trying to remember the name because it's not Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. That's the game.
It's Tiny Tina's like the D&D bit.
The D&D bit where it's just Brick just constantly making the the joke of like, and I punch it, and it's just like that's all Brick cares about. He's like, can I punch it?
That's the D&D player, right? Who's like, I'm going to kick down every door I come across. Why? Because it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Roll for initiative.
What's initiative?
It says which order we attack in.
I punch the initiative.
Again, a little voice line that always just I single out as being really funny is where he's talking about interrogating someone. It's like, he thought he was pretty tough, but no one can stand up to my punch you in the face until you die fighting style. So that's a pretty good fighting style, right? Just punch you in the face until you die.
Yeah. And that is one of the things that I think makes this game stand out even more is just it had a really strong set of DLCs and updates and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it was like every couple of months they'd be like, here's like a Halloween themed DLC with like a bunch of new guns in there and like it's all voice acted.
Yeah,
and they give a lot of time. It's like we're going to give a minor character just some play here, like in the Mr. Torg's DLC. It was like Mr. Torg was a minor character and Mr. Torg was annoying, and then he grew on me.
And then it went all the way back around at the end of that DLC where they make you listen to that like character talk over and over and over again, and I'm like. And then they even do that thing like, don't walk away. If you walk away, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to start again. And he's like, oh.
What else do I have to do this week? Probably head to the bazaar, pick up some frozen spider and flanks. Gotta bring my coat though, because it gets kind of chilly in the freezer section.
And that's the thing, I was surprised that like they nailed it so hard with the Tiny Tina DLC, because Tiny Tina is a character I like, but I feel like in small doses. Small doses, Tiny Tina's great.
Yeah.
The fact they made an entire DLC around her, and it works. And have you ever, you better track this down when you do the edit, have you ever gone and listened to like the deleted audio of her reacting to Roland's death?
No, I've not, no.
So there was supposed to be a bunch of like reactions. Do you know when Roland dies and you got to go tell everyone?
Mm-hmm.
There was initially going to be you need to go tell Tiny Tina, but to tell Tiny Tina you'd have to travel all the way across the map.
Mm-hmm.
And they thought, well, we're just going to cut this because it's going to be really annoying for players to have to travel across the entire map just to tell someone something and get a 10-second voice line. But the voice line is the only time in the entire game she ever drops her facade, and she just you hear it. She just says, "Thank you for telling me." And just leaves. And it's really heartbreaking because it's the one time she's not happy.
Roland's dead? Thank you for telling me. Please go now.
In the DLC, she's just like not acknowledging Roland's death at all.
It's essentially that DLC is just an in-universe counselling session for her to deal with her grief, and that's why at the end, who's the guy who comes in and saves us from the evil wizard? It's the knight. It's Roland.
Mm-hmm.
And Roland comes back. And you even have the other characters go, Tina, Roland's... But then they realise halfway through...
Like, it's like, no, don't... Just let her have this.
Let her have this. That Roland did save the day. He's not here to see it, but he did save the day.
Mm-hmm. I think that ultimately the D&D DLC is, like, especially at the time, probably a great example of, like, maybe one of the best I'd played at the time.
Yeah, I remember as well, like, Borderlands got a lot of, like, credit for. It's little DLCs, people got a bit annoyed with them, of like, you're going to charge me £3 for like an hour-long mission, but with Borderlands, with the whole draw of it being, there's like 500 new guns.
Yeah.
People didn't mind it for that, and there's new legendary weapons that have unique effects, but that Tiny Tina DLC was such... I would have paid that on its own. That was such a complete experience.
I mean, that was, and then obviously there was just something a bit off about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and I do think that a lot of the damage was just done by Borderlands 3.
Yeah, and I guess we've got to give shout-outs, though, to Tales from the Borderlands, which is really good.
See, I've not played Tales of the Borderlands, but people do say the good things about Borderlands, like games-wise, is Borderlands 2 and Tales from the Borderlands.
Because, again, you think Tales from the Borderlands of like, oh, you want me to be in the Borderlands universe talking to people, which is its strength, but also its weakness. Like, no, it's real fucking good.
But that was when Telltale was, like, the very top of their game, doing, like, Walking Dead Season 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Whoever made Tales of the Borderlands just managed to, apparently, like, nail the tone and just like make likable characters and keep it within the Borderlands kind of aesthetic and tone without making it super grating.
Yes, they also as well had a bunch of just like really memorable characters and moments that were just introduced in there, some of which ended up reprising their roles in number 3, though not with the same voice actors in a lot of cases. This is that's the other thing that left like sour taste in a lot of people's mouth in regards to Borderlands 3 of, hey, this is a game carried by its characters, and we're not going to pay some of the actors to reprise their roles because we want to get them cheaper.
Right, yeah.
Like Claptrap, we're not going to pay the voice actor for Claptrap. He never got paid, right?
So yeah, there was a developer at Gearbox, David Eddings, and they were in the first 4 Borderlands games, but basically, like, they had a dispute because, guess what, they weren't getting paid. Like,
yeah, they just...
a lot of the time that kind of happens, right, in video game development, of a developer will kind of play a role.
Voice a minor character, yeah?
They'll play a role and they'll, like, do some voice acting, or a lot of the time it's meant to be temporary work, and then they end up getting the role.
Yeah.
And just, yeah, it turns out, you know, they were getting kind of fucked, because it was, oh, but you're hired by us, you did some work for us, we own that, we're not going to pay you extra. Obviously, there ended up being a fallout over that, because Claptrap became, like, literally one of the main characters to the point where they became playable.
Yeah, and that's what... When it's... Okay, you want me to do a few voices, right? You want me to do a couple voices in the game? Sure, I'll do that, because you pay me. And then it's like, okay, but this character has now become a cornerstone of the franchise. I probably made you a decent... You can pay me for, like, doing 2 jobs. It's like that classic work thing, isn't it? If you take on a new responsibility because they ask you to, and that responsibility just becomes part of your job.
Yeah.
And you're not compensated for that part of your job. It's like, don't do it, folks. Do not take on extra responsibility at work without requesting extra compensation for it, because they will take the fucking piss.
Yeah, and they took the piss to the point where David Eddings then fell out with Randy Pitchford publicly, who is the CEO of Gearbox, and then they either got fired or quit or whatever. But yeah, they basically just received 0 extra compensation above what they were getting paid for being a developer on the game, and they just, I believe, never resolved that, and they just never got paid for being Claptrap, I guess. Then there was also 5 Headhunter packs, which is
they're like the smaller ones, right?
Where, as you say, like, they were kind of the give us a few quid and you'll get some loot and go on a mission for like an hour. That's still fine, I guess, but still, it wasn't as well received. But these are TK Baha's Bloody Harvest, The Horrible Hunger of the Ravenous Wattle Gobbler, which is a mouthful, How Marcus Saved Mercenary Day, Mad Moxxi and the Wedding Day Massacre, and Sir Hammerlock versus the Son of Cormorax.
And here's one. How, like, is there a character that you're like, I don't get it? 'Cause for me, it's Mad Moxxi.
Now introducing the barbarian, the beautiful, the most buxom sponsor of the history of Pandora, Mad Moxxi!
Did you see, speaking of Mad Moxxi, Carl?
Okay.
Did you see the joke fly over people's head completely?
Which one?
With Mad Moxxi. So Mad Moxxi's like casting recently, I guess, or maybe like people have just figured it out recently and got angry over it. I don't know who the actor was, but I just saw people getting angry about it. Of like, it's a woman who is clearly like a bit older, and people are like, Mad Moxxi's like this older woman. What the fuck is going on? She's meant to be like this young, sexy character.
No, she's not. The whole point is that she's a MILF.
Yeah.
That's the joke.
That is the joke. Is like she's literally the parent of like Ellie and Scooter, who are adults.
She's a play on that old trope of the tired, hardened barmaid you get in the Old West.
Mm-hmm.
That's why she's wearing the fucking outfit inspired by one of those like burlesque performer dancers back then.
Yeah, exactly, right?
And she shoots people.
I don't know how people miss the joke so hard that they're getting angry.
Because in their head, Mad Moxxi isn't Mad Moxxi from the game. It's Jessica Negri dressed like Mad Moxxi.
Right, yeah.
That'll be it, right? Like, it's just in their head as well. It'll be cosplayers and because she's a digital woman. And they don't listen to women, even digital ones. They don't listen to any of the stuff where she talks about being a mum.
Yeah.
With 2 30-year-old children.
I saw that and was like, oh man, I didn't think... You know when we joke about like, oh, people didn't understand like the Homelander being Trump thing, so they had to just nail it even like harder and harder into your head. Just the fact that Borderlands is too subtle for some people, apparently.
It's not even subtle. She says, like, when you talk to Ellie, she's like, go talk to my mum, Mad Moxxi. They have the same tattoo.
Yeah, but like Carl, apparently, as you say, people don't even listen to virtual women and just was, no, Mad Moxxi's meant to be young and hot. Why is she older?
Why do you think she has her face fucking plastered full of makeup like a clown? That's the point. She's like that trope of like the older woman wearing too much makeup.
That is the entire joke that Mad Moxxi is as a character, and people miss the joke.
A Borderlands joke.
I was like, oh man, people like I don't even think it is that necessarily. Maybe it's not subtle enough, or it's too subtle. Sorry, but like I think it's people just don't want her to be that character. People want her to be the young hot cosplay girl they see,
dressed like her.
Mm-hmm. It's so fucking disappointing and hilarious at the same time. Of like, you people astound me every fucking day with how stupid you are.
And you know as well, they would be the first people to complain if you changed a character.
Mm-hmm.
If you changed a character in any way that was annoying to them, like if you made one of the characters a woman instead of a man, or changed their race, they would be screaming online about, no, it's not true to the original material. As soon as it is original to the material, but in a way that they don't like, it's like, no! It's like, get on the MILF train. Do it. It's going to leave the station without you either way, but it's going to be a good ride. You should be on it. You should be on this train. It's full of MILFs.
I guess that's the perfect note to end on. It's just get on the MILF train, everyone.
Wiki Weekend supports MILFs.
Get on the MILF train, and remember, just before you're bored, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you everyone for watching.
I imagine being that. I imagine being that guy of like, it's like, do you ever see that thing of like Pierce Brosnan like appeared at like a thing with his wife, and he's been married to like the same woman for 30 years, and those kind of guys like were retweeting a picture of him with his wife who's put on some amount of weight since they were like
20.
But 20. And it's like, man, I can't imagine James Bond like being like this. And just someone retweeted like, oh no, my wife who loves me has a fat ass and massive tits. Well, this is terrible. It's like, so what do these guys want? It's like, oh no, my wife who loves me has a giant ass and fat stonking tits. This is the worst thing I can have. Also, I'm James Bond and rich. I'm sure they care what that guy on Twitter thinks.
Yeah. Clearly so much, but yeah, as I say, it's both very disappointing but very funny to just laugh at people. Yes. Thank you all for watching. I hope everyone has a lovely day.
Cheers, everybody.